This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1226. We just don't stop here at the Relevant Podcast. Once we start, we're going. It's episode 10,412. Here in Orlando, I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What's happening?
And just on the street there, don't be too chippy. Don't be too cheery there. Just on the street there, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Okay, I'm going to tell the audience what's going on. I'm in Florida. It is 68 degrees and sunny. Okay.
Shit.
All three of my friends here are making head noises because they're all sick because of weather and frigid and all that. And I'm just loving life. I'm going to probably eat lunch outside in the sun.
Oh, shit.
I will say this though. We are expecting tonight 3 to 5 inches of snow, which where I live does not get. We get like a decent snow once every like 2 or 3 years. I would venture to say 3 to 5 inches is optimal snow day snow. Like anything more than that, you're looking at, you're shoveling driveways. You're looking at potentially getting snowed in. 3 to 5 inches. It's enough for sledding, enough for some snowballs, nothing for a little snow football, right? Like all the activities. I feel like over 5, that's blizzardish. Nashville, I know you're coming in for more, but I think we're right in the Goldilocks zone of snow days coming, and I'm very excited about it.
Well, last time I checked here in Nashville, we were told 4 to 7. So
Nashville, when I lived there, if there was like a half inch, the city shut down, like because nobody can drive in it, and Nashville doesn't have like the snow equipment to treat the streets and stuff, so like it locks down the city.
This is how I knew it was serious. We had salt trucks. I took my son to basketball practice, and I saw salt truks last night. And
they borrowed them. They had to borrow them from Indiana.
Kentucky or Indiana.
I think they have like a few, like maybe like 3 for the whole area, which is not enough.
More than we got. But I haven't seen any. And I don't think there's any plans.
Hey, you got salt water. Just hose off. Just stick a hose in the ocean. And
my homie said whoever put the salt on McDonald's fries need to wake up in the morning and get to work. They was like, yo, because them fries be salty. I thought that was a pretty cool meme.
Jesse, do you remember in college, we went to school in Oklahoma, and so it would snow. I mean, it wasn't like white the entire winter, but so when it snowed, it was an event. Do you remember like after lunch, like on snow days, everybody, at least in my era, everybody would steal lunch trays from the cafeteria and go out to the hills behind the tower dorms and just sled on all the lunch trays. Did you ever do that?
Yeah, well, not only that, there was Lake Evelyn back there, which was a little pond, and there was like a tiny canoe that was meant for maintenance purposes for the fountain, right? I remember one time we dragged that canoe to the top of the hill and loaded it with people. I mean, it probably had to weigh like 900 pounds or more. And
it's a legit hill.
Just didn't stop sliding.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long hill with just grass in front of it. It was great.
Can y'all back up? How big were y'all's lunch trays?
Big enough to sit on? I mean, like, I don't know. They were just cafeteria trays, you just figure it out. I don't know. Normal, right?
It was like a normal like dinner tray,
normal lunch tray. Like how? What? Okay,
Indian style, or cross-legged, or knees at your shoulders.
I'm thinking the knees at your shoulder, like you're like scrunched up on there.
I was in knees at the shoulders position. There were people that kneeled on it, but I thought you're too top heavy if you kneel on it. So I was a sit down. I was a Florida guy. I
think, when I was in college, there was maybe one snow day that we had in Texas. And I mean, Texas, I think we maybe got an inch of snow, and everything shut down in Texas because like anything it's not that hard to shut down. But when I was in college, a lot of people went to this hill, and a lot of people had like these big plastic bins that like you'd normally keep like clothes in or just like extra stuff in your dorm. Everyone had like dumped that out, and everyone was sitting in those bins and going down that.
See, that makes sense. The lunch tray doesn't. To me, I'm just like, maybe I'm just too tall.
Yeah, you're large. You're a large human. You couldn't fit on a lunch tray. You put one on each foot and just ski down. You know?
That's what I'd have to do something like that because, like in my mind, I don't know how a human could fit on a lunch tray and slide down the hill. Like it just doesn't. My brain is not. It's I'm too tall. That's what
Derek's a canoe guy. Derek's gonna lay down the canoe.
He was one of the. I mean, we look like Washington crossing the Delaware in that thing. I mean, just loaded to the gills, like one guy standing up at the front. When you realize we've got too much speed here. Here's the flaw of the lunch tray thing. Here's the flaw of the lunch tray is like traditional sleds have some, mechanism to control the direction, whether that's like rails. The ski, like the blades, or like, at least they're kind of shaped in a way where there's one point of center. So if you lean, it is direction. A lunch tray is flat. I mean, you're basically, you're doing 360s. You could be, there's no control, and it's that kind of adds to the adventure of it.
It's like I remember one time
the adventure is crazy.
My family went skiing and my mom didn't want to ski because she was worried about her knees. And so she went tubing. And I remember she couldn't, the same thing you were just saying, she couldn't control the direction. And so I remember I was like coming down the ski hill and then the tube hill kind of converges at the lodge. And my mom just is spinning and just flies right by me. No control. It was great.
Like Donkey Kong? Like on Donkey Kong Country or Mario Kart.
Family Vacation where he's spinning on the disc. That was my mom on this inner tube just yelling. It was great.
I will say the beauty of the inner tube design is it's literally cushioned from every angle.
True. True.
Like where the lunch tray is just corners of plastic. And let me just say this: they're not meant to sustain the weight of
impact.
Exactly. And they would frequently
so y'all
break
broke a lot of lunch trays. That's what I'm hearing.
I thought everybody said we broke a lot of bones.
What in the world, man? Like, dog. I know y'all's teachers just hated to see y'all come sometime. Like, oh my God, like what is it here?
Christian colleges have residential campuses. There's a whole lifestyle that happens because you've got all these, like, you got 6,000 wild 18 to 22-year-olds bored. They're just trying to kill time. Yeah, we're stealing lunch trays and we're going to steal canoes and slide down hills. I mean,
this is hilarious, man.
Yeah, it was wholesome. I mean, you might not, I will say this, you might not have the same degree of, debaucherous activities, but you do have a lot of broken bones and things like that at Christian colleges because you're taking a lot of dangerous physical risk there.
You're just bored out your mind. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take a 900-pound canoe and slide down the hill at max speed. Let's see what happens.
We had. Did you guys still have? Did they remodel it? You probably still had the big metal or concrete drainage ditch that ran along that area, like toward the baseball stadium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When it was snow day, I was going over to the hill with my tray from the cafeteria to the hill, and I decided not to go all the way around and go over the little bridge. I decided to jump the concrete ravine. Missed. Well, I kind of missed. I made it, but I slipped backwards, hit my head, got a concussion, missed 3 days of classes. It was great.
It was great after that.
I missed 3 days of classes. I missed 3 days of classes. It was great. Just relaxed.
You had a concussion, sir.
Went to the hospital. Yeah.
I've been rafting in that drainage ditch. It was like a flash flood that kind of, like a big thunderstorm came through and a lot of water. And I'm telling you, it was whitewater rafting through the campus. It
was great.
Again, the canoe once again made an appearance. Not meant for those conditions.
Yeah. Oh man.
Y'all had much different college experiences than I did. Who would have thought it would have gotten so wild at a Christian campus?
I mean, that's our version of partying. All right. Well, we have a great show in store for you. I'm actually really excited about this. We have a guest. You may not know her, maybe you do. She's huge on TikTok and Instagram, Dr. Sarah Hensley. If you've ever found your way into therapy talk, you know what I mean? Like where it's like you end up watching some counselor talk to you about trauma, and then now you just start seeing a lot of those videos. Dr. Hensley is one of those leading voices. Her specialty, she's a Christian counselor. Her specialty is relational therapy and specifically attachment styles. If you don't know about attachment styles, you know your Enneagram, you know your personality type and all that stuff, you need to understand your attachment style and how it affects your relationships and the attachment styles of those the other people in your life. She is brilliant in this area. Emily had a conversation with her, and I'll just tell you now, she lays it out for 16 minutes. This is like a crash course, and it is awesome, and we're running the whole thing. So strap in. We're going to get you healed today. Also, at the end of the show, we have your feedback, your 2025 predictions, and stay tuned after this break. It's Slices. Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Mercy Ships. Globally, 5 billion people lack access to surgical care. In sub-Saharan Africa, there's only one surgeon for every 200,000 people. Mercy Ships provides free, life-transforming surgeries for people who have little to no access to medical care. They help the blind see, straighten twisted limbs, remove deadly tumors, treat cleft conditions, and so much more. With state-of-the-art hospital ships, they provide safe surgery to children and adults living with treatable conditions, and it's completely free of charge. They do all this work with an all-volunteer crew of professionals who donate their time and talents. Surgeons, stewards, nurses, engineers, and more make the world a better place. Your donation today provides free, safe surgeries to people in desperate need of help. All gifts are matched, so please donate today at mercyships.org/relevant.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Tim Tebow's book, Look Again. Have you ever wondered what would change if you truly believed you were infinitely valuable to God? In his New York Times bestselling book, Look Again, Tim Tebow reveals the powerful truth that when we learn to see the image of God in every person, including those we struggle to love, everything changes. Tebow shares incredible stories from his work with people the world often overlooks, and it will challenge you to stand up to the lies, rediscover the worth that everyone has, and impact the world for good. Find Look Again by Tim Tebow, available now wherever books are sold.
Okay, it's time for
Slices.
What do you have, Jesse?
All right. I wanted to talk about, I have a take on this, but I wanted to kind of go around the horn here first. Mark Zuckerberg's announcement that, among other things, I mean, the main element I wanted to talk about was that he was removing professional fact checkers from Meta's platform, so Facebook and Instagram, and replacing these sort of professional annotations to people's content with a community note system similar to what is being used on X right now, which is more of a kind of community driven system to determine what constitutes needing some sort of consensus on what is truth and what is not. So there was a handful of other kind of commentary in this 5-minute little video that he did, but that's the element I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on, because I've thought about this a lot, and having worked in digital media on a lot of different sides, helping to mod message boards in the past and be a moderator, working with professional fact checkers, around the horn real quick. What do you guys think of this policy? And then I kind of want to see what you guys think of my take on it.
Personally, I never thought that they wanted to institute the fact checker policy in the first place. I think it was instituted more from public pressure.
Well, it was in 2017, and they did it specifically because of the Russian. It was proven that Russian operatives were spreading misinformation on Meta, and so that's why they put it up there to say, "Hey, we're going to be a safe space, and we won't be manipulated like that." That's why they did it.
Yeah, I remember. I know that, but I'm just like, it doesn't feel like. For me, it never felt like it was as important.
Like they weren't emphasizing it a lot, maybe.
To me, it feels like it wasn't emphasized much. I guess maybe during that time, it probably was. But I think now, because there's so much disinformation on the internet now, I'm like, I don't even think they could keep up with it. You know what I mean? So it just feels like
one of the reasons. And he said too, he felt like the companies that they hired, because they outsourced them, had gotten too political one way or the other. Okay, respect. Yeah. So I understand all that. I was listening to tech podcast, and this expert came on and he said what they're going to do is exactly what X is doing. And the way Community Notes works with X is that anybody can submit a community note, right? Anybody can. And then it's like Reddit where it's like upvoted. And then over time, if there's a consensus that one of the submitted notes is like the best one, that will then appear. But the risk is that the disinformation could spread widely long before the community note gets approved. You know what I mean? So it like takes time. So anyway, that's the risk. And that's what's happening on X too. Because there's a lot of stuff said on X without
that
community notes,
true.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Well, question is, could also, this is just, maybe I'm just stupid, but can someone manipulate the community note as well to where the upvotes would upvote disinformation?
I mean, in theory, yeah.
It'd take a concerted effort with a large group of people to say we have an agenda to do this, but
But even in theory there, even the whole idea behind it is not necessary. It's still imperfect, even if there was ways to reduce manipulation, because it doesn't matter how many people decide something is true. It doesn't make that less true if it's actual. You know what I'm saying?
True that.
I think, Jesse, back to your slice from a month or two ago where you brought up Reddit, which I'm not in the Reddit world. Yeah. So, but you brought up this thing that was happening where the Reddit mob decided to write bad reviews about or good or the best restaurants in a certain town were like McDonald's and stuff. And and Reddit, then the Reddit mob manipulated the Google results and all that for these businesses. And I'm going, that's what we're just turning the internet over to basically Reddit users. I mean, that's basically what we're doing now. So,
well, and that's why I think, real quick, Emily, being in journalism, what's your take on the Facebook or Meta fact checker decision?
My initial, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is going to be so bad. Misinformation is going to spread. But when I thought about it from the community notes perspective, I was really hesitant when X made that change. And I think that there are still maybe some flaws to figure out. I do think from what I've seen, community notes has been good at getting things right. From what there hasn't been kind of like Derek's fear. I haven't seen anything that's no, that's the community notes wrong too. But
I've learned a lot with the community notes. I see something and I'm like, whoa. And then I read the community note going, this is from 2010. This had nothing to do with the thing that they say it does, and I was like, oh, good. I'm glad this exists. You know what I mean?
But I do think to Cameron's earlier point, the frustrating thing is I will sometimes see a tweet and then 3 days later I see it again with the community note. And you and I know, just being in journalism, once a narrative's out there, it's really hard to get that narrative back and change it. So that's just the timing thing. That's kind of the hard part. But again, fact checking wasn't Meta's fact checking wasn't necessarily getting it within 5 seconds anyway. So there's just a whole problem here.
The thing of it's not necessarily okay, this tweet is problematic. The community note addresses it, and all the people that retweeted it, the community note goes with it. It's I saw this tweet. Oh my gosh. And then I go tweet about it. I'm not so the original tweet might get in a community note, but now millions of other people might be just talking about that information, that wrong information, as though it was true. There's no way community notes can catch, once the cat's out of the bag, it's out of the bag. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say I don't know if it's every time, but I've gotten a few notifications on Twitter for if I liked or interacted with a tweet, I'll get a notification saying, hey, there was a community note added to this tweet that you interacted with. So I've gotten that a few times, which I wish they would, if that's happening more, I want to be notified every time. But
is that all the tweets of your conspiracy theories that you keep retweeting? It's really problematic.
Yeah. Just the flat earth ones. Just flat earth.
I've been notified by yours quite a bit as well, Emily.
I'm getting fact checked, or I'm getting community notes.
I'm the one submitting all the community notes to your post, but nobody's upvoting my correction. So,
but
I've been off Twitter for a while. So I don't. It's too much for me. Yeah, it's too much for me. But
that's why in the group chat I screenshot tweets. I don't send the link anymore.
I'll go every now and again, but that platform needs some help. But anyhow, the main question or the main thing I would say is if someone wants to believe something that's not true, it doesn't matter how many people say something isn't true that's going to change them. That's another thing that I've learned too is there's a guy I follow and we go back a long way. I don't know why I haven't unfollowed him yet, but
Lecrae.
yeah, no, not Lecrae.
Emily.
But he says a lot of stuff that's like, bro, this is dead wrong. But people are like, they love it because that whatever narrative that he's in, like they love that vein of information. And it's like, it's always like, well, it's 90% wrong, but there's always that 10% chance that this is actually a real conspiracy. You know what I'm saying?
Jesse, before you get your thing, little aside about that, the people who confirmation bias, they believe this to be true, so they see it, and so therefore they believe it as truth, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that Theo Von, Tony Robbins clip where they had an interview? And Tony Robbins says to Theo Von, look around the room and look for everything that's brown. Like put it in your mind's eye, close your eyes, and blah, blah, blah. And then he says, with the eyes closed, how many red items are in the room? And then he's like, I have no idea. He said, open your eyes. Okay, now look at all the red items. Yeah. And then he says, like, see, what happens is like what you're looking for becomes your truth. He said, I bet you even made some beige things brown just to like add it into the brown. I bet you made some maroon things red to add it in. So it's like what you want to see is what you're going to see. And I think about the internet when I think about that. Like I think about what you just said, Derek. Like I want this to be true, so therefore it's true. And I'm not going to worry about if somebody disagrees with it because I know it's true because that's what I want to see.
If I literally bring you facts that say what you believe is wrong, you'll find the thing in it that says, maybe. So it's like, I don't even know if we need fact checkers in now because people going to just believe what they want to anyway.
Well, that's my whole thing. Like, one, if Facebook fact checkers were obviously ineffective, because if anyone's talked to someone a couple generations older than us, it doesn't take that long for them to say some things that you're like, I can assume where you heard that.
Look, my mama just sent me a R. Kelly video yesterday saying that he's making, like, he has a new album out and it's a music video. It's all AI. They just got my, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, there's no way that R. Kelly, come on, guys. Why y'all targeting my mom with R. Kelly new songs? Like, leave my mom alone.
I saw people sharing a while ago, like this Justin Bieber worship song. It was obviously, but again, like, at some point do we need to be more concerned about public media literacy than the responsibility of platforms to try to reel in something that is it's untenable, right? You know what I mean? Like there's no good way to do it because because you think about this too, like what basically is the function of social media. I wouldn't want Verizon or my phone provider to fact check a text thread with my friends, right? Yeah. Like even if that thread got to like dozens of people, look, this is just open conversations between people. It just happens to be this is viewable publicly, and my network is bigger than a text thread. I think we just need and this is I think something that hopefully the generations coming after us can be more proactive about, and I think it will be more intuitive to them, is that there's a difference between social media, which is basically just an extension of interpersonal communications. It's a matter of scale. Like you're choosing who you
bathroom
follow.
Wall, like Dave Chappelle said.
Yeah, exactly. And traditional media outlets, which you are choosing to put trust in based on their credentials, based on their qualifications,
track
and
record,
based on verifiable things like sources, like this
research
person's on location, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is a responsibility. These aren't public utilities; they're private companies that are ultimately providing a service. Why is it on them to be the arbiters of how accurate it is of what you choose to say to your friends? Like,
I personally think like the reason why they decided to invest all this money, because they do this in like 69 countries around the world. Yeah. A lot of them have dictators and revolutions and different things. And so I think the original reason why Zuckerberg did it was it became very clear that Russian operatives spread misinformation in a political cycle, and a lot of people were deceived by it. I'm not saying that affected the outcome of anything. I'm saying a lot of people believe stuff that wasn't true. And I think Zuckerberg said it would be really bad for business if Facebook became the place of lies and deceit. Like, it's not a safe space. So he's just going, how do we remove the doubt and the fear that we've been manipulated? So let's put up these safeguards and whatever. And now he's going, 7 years later, 8 years later, the world's kind of evolved. We don't need to do this anymore. And it's the opposite is happening. It's like we're being seen as censoring people because we're providing fact checking. And so he's like, let's just remove ourselves from the equation. Jesse, your libertarianism is showing very brightly today.
But again, like, I think it was a good faith effort. I'm not saying it. I don't think it was done with some like overtly political. I can't speak for the individual fact checkers, but I think the heart behind it was good. But I think even something like you look at the COVID pandemic, right? And a lot of things that were assumed to be facts are sort of being revisited now when it comes to like the origins of the virus and, you know, different things that were known at different times. Like because what I feel like that era of fact checking on social media conflated was fact versus conclusion, right? Like if we're writing a magazine article and I send it to a fact checker, if I said something happened at a certain date, they're saying, yes, I can confirm that. Or yes, I will confirm with the source they said this. They're not fact checking the conclusions I made about the facts in the story, right? Where I feel like fact checkers in the social media era started fact checking conclusions, not just the facts.
Or like what you should think about something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It veered into that territory where it's like, well, that's not, in a professional sense, that's not what I'm asking the fact checker to do. Just make sure the facts that I state to back up my conclusion are accurate, right? Or if, you know, but I don't need my conclusion that's where I feel like, especially in the pandemic, and I understand why. And like I said, I think it was a genuine good faith effort to provide people with what was the consensus of medical experts at the time, you know, with the best ways to respond to an international emergency. But I think the hindsight of that is it prevented people from drawing conclusions based on the same set of facts, and they were regulating the wrong thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we just came up with an amazing high school course as well, because I think
media literacy.
I think media literacy should be a high school course that you have to go through it to pass.
Emily and I talk about this every day. Every day.
We're in a media illiteracy crisis, and not enough people are talking about it because they don't know it.
Beyond just social media, I mean, we've been doing this 25 years now. We've seen the evolution where young Gen Z and older millennials, you know, would read an article. Younger millennials would read a headline and then react, because social media became their primary source of spreading, you know, their thoughts. And so they would read a headline and react. And now we're seeing Gen Z doesn't even read the headline. They'll watch a video or whatever about it, but they won't even read a headline. So it's like the media literacy thing is evolving. The need for media literacy is escalating quickly, because just you saw somebody say it on TikTok doesn't mean it's true. And they just take it as fact because this person that looked cool said something. You know,
and the thing with people on TikTok who are doing, like, I've seen people on TikTok speak very matter of factly and bring up sources that I think kind of like what Jesse was saying, where yes, the facts that they were saying is correct, but they don't actually have like the credentials or the research understanding to be able to make an accurate conclusion. They are taking facts, piecing together a conclusion that they've already decided previously, and then sharing it as fact. And
it's the Billy Carson versus Wes Huff thing that has blown Wes Huff up, which Billy Carson has been saying a whole bunch of stuff matter-of-factly, and he's an excellent speaker, but he's been saying it matter-of-factly and wrong. And Wes Huff says, no, these sources aren't, what you're quoting is not true. This is wrong. And it just has blown everyone's mind, because Billy Carson's made this crazy large platform off of some things that he said that have been absolutely wrong, but he's just not had anyone as charismatic be able to debunk him.
But what I love about that example, Derek, is like all the community notes and fact checking in the world wouldn't convince a Billy Carson fan that he wasn't right. It took the exchange of ideas with a credible, thoughtful, actual human in the same platform in a YouTube debate, right? To illustrate that. Like, I don't think it's the heart behind whether people should be fact checked or community noted. I think it's the method. And I just think the method is flawed, and people that it has to be native to the platform. Like, if you see something wrong on Twitter that you feel like address it in a thoughtful way that is engaging, and maybe you can actually change an idea instead of just challenging it.
Bring back Debate Club, man. Like, y'all remember Debate Club?
Yeah.
Bring Debate Club back. That taught us how to, if someone has an argument, how to actually engage that argument with thoughtful discourse. Like, we need to bring back those skills.
Interpersonal communication skills.
We need those skills. We need them desperately.
One more thing about the media literacy too, though. I'm really nervous about AI and Gen Z, because there have been like some things I've seen even just this week about like there was like an image going around of the Hollywood sign being on fire because of the California fires, but it was an AI generated image. Like, the Hollywood sign's fine, but people were sharing that, being like, look at this happening. And it's like, let's not spread misinformation about like an actual event, but AI makes it a little tricky sometimes to be able to see. So
that's why we need the class. We need Emily to build the curriculum. Emily and Cameron to build the curriculum for it.
Emily's one.
And get it into these schools, because my son, I have to correct my kids all the time because, and they don't have a lot of access to the internet, but there's times when they'll say stuff and they're like, hey, I saw this is true. And I'm like, nah, son, that's not true, buddy. Like that, and we're just feeding them to, they're food for the slaughter if we don't equip these kids in that way.
The Christian equivalent to this is, I hosted a home group at my house a few years ago, and it was all like 24, 25-year-olds, and I didn't lead it. I was offering up my house, and I was there probably half the time, and I'm telling you, it was the most feelings-based, like, this is what I feel God is saying. And then, like, they would say such heresy. They would say things with a good heart. They would say things like, talking about hustle, like God rewards those who work the hardest, and, just like little pithy things that they might have heard on Twitter or whatever. And it's just like, this ain't scriptural, y'all. And like, I could sit there and be like, no. And they would be like, you just don't get it. I know but if a pastor was in the room and the pastor was like, no, actually, this is what scripture says, and he had a credibility and he had a knowledge that they don't have, they would be open to his wisdom and being different than what they figured out on their own. You know what I'm saying? So there's something that, like you were saying, Jesse, about the credibility of the difference between real media and social media, or real experts and just somebody who thinks they know what they're talking about. We got to figure out a way to separate the wheat from the chaff in this new era, So,
but I think that's going to ultimately be on the consumer,
right?
That's the only tenable way, because you can't legislate it. Platform rules don't work. That's apparent. It has to. People just have to evolve into smarter media consumers, or they're not going to be able to distinguish truth from fiction.
I mean, that's the libertarian way. Just get your hands off my pockets and let me live my life, and I'll figure it out.
I'm just saying the flaws of other methods are becoming evident.
Yes, correct.
There has to be some onus on an informed public to be able to be mature enough to make a distinction between someone who is credible or even someone who is injecting bias. It takes time and it's a thoughtful process, but that's the only way it's going to work.
Yep. All right. What do you have, Derek?
So Marvel is thinking about recasting T'Challa in the Black Panther series. And I'm actually excited about this because Black Panther is one of the most iconic Black superheroes there is. And as much as I love Chadwick, he made that role was him. Like, that was the role that felt like he was born to play. But I also know that there's a lot of black boys and girls that need T'Challa to be for his legacy to not end with Chadwick. And I believe that someone like Chadwick will want to see something as iconic as T'Challa go forward. So they're thinking, we don't know if we're going to see this at all. But they're open to it, which is a change because at first they were not open to recasting T'Challa at all. So something has changed.
I don't know. I don't know. This is your world. I don't know this world. But are you is your guess that they would do something like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? They just swap the mom out and don't acknowledge it?
No.
Or is it where like the other superheroes change who's in the costume from time to time or era to era? Like Batman, Nolan, Batman, you know,
or a multiverse
Clooney.
version. A multiverse version.
That's
or
what I
something.
think. That's
You
what I
think
think
multiverse?
happens. I think multiverse happens.
But recasting isn't. I mean, they recast Hulk. It was originally Edward Norton, and they just made the switch to Mark Ruffalo, and it wasn't like, oh, this is branches of the timelines version.
No,
but
it's
you
just
think
a new
it'll
actor.
be a multiverse situation, not just
Because
pretend this is
the second Black Panther, the sister becomes the Black Panther.
The Black Panther.
So like they have already quote unquote recasted
So
Black
it's
Panther.
the person. So the character can have new people in the suit,
But we're conflating T'Challa and
Right,
Black
right.
Panther.
That's why I was asking for clarification. So okay.
So in the comic book, Shuri doesn't want that mantle. Like it was too much for her in the comic book. She takes it and she's like, "Nah, I don't want it." And because Shuri's thing was always like, I get to work, be an introvert inside of my thing, do my little experiments, and that's that. And it was like she took it because she had to, very similar to the movie. I think personally, when I look at this, as far as the recasting is concerned, like even when you look at Marvel's list of heroes right now, there's not many black men that are heroes. Like you have Sam Wilson, and that's a struggle there, taking over Captain America, which again, that's another character that was Captain America for a season, but everyone knows Steve Rogers is Captain America. T'Challa is one of the only black superheroes that's like, he's the guy, like he's Superman, like he's Bruce Wayne, he is Clark Kent. So to take and make that a avatar as opposed to an actual character, I think is not a good thing. This would be my preference. This is what I would love to see. I don't know if they're going to do this, but what I would love to see is that in the multiverse, that Michael B. Jordan is actually T'Challa somewhere else, and they insert him into the multiverse, and then now it creates these emotions and these feelings of like, wait a minute, we know the evil version, this guy in another world, and there's a redemption arc for him as well as an amazing actor taking up that role. That's what I would love to see. I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah.
Okay, see, I'm more on board with this because when I first read this, I was like, this is where Marvel gets messy because the whole second movie is about grieving the loss of T'Challa and like the space that he's left. So it's like they're going to have to undo that whole storyline and reintroduce it. And Marvel, I'll be honest, I don't think they handle complex storylines super well, but they do every now and then. They can get the multiverse right. So I'm okay with the multiverse theory. I just need you to somehow get into the Marvel Studios. So how do we make that happen?
I think it's Ryan Coogler. Like Ryan Coogler is Marvel as a whole doesn't do that. But when you look at the reason why they haven't been good with complex storylines is because all of the directors that made them hot, they moved on to different guys. Like Scott Derrickson with Doctor Strange. The first Doctor Strange was great. They moved on from him, and they started bringing in big names. It's almost like Marvel has felt like what the Lakers were when they went and grabbed LeBron and AD and all of that, and they've tried to make these superstars work. It's like, no, get back to telling stories. But the reason the Black Panther franchise has been pretty consistent is because they left it in Ryan Coogler's hands. So if I would trust, if anybody's going to make a good move, is going to be Ryan Coogler, because he understands black culture. He's passionate about the character and passionate about the people that are playing the characters. So I think he would do it in a way that's gonna give honor to Shuri, who's the current Black Panther, and whoever's going to take over. I think he would set them up for success.
Love it. All right, Emily, what do you have?
Yeah, super quick. I do have some good economic news to share for once, which I feel like I never have good economy news. But there's
the economy, the stock market's high, 256,000 jobs added last month. Like everything's booming. It's just inflation's crazy.
Unemployment, yeah.
Record low unemployment.
Well, I feel like we never talk about that because I don't understand any of those words. But what I do understand, is the cost of college tuition, which according to a new report is actually getting cheaper or like more, like slightly more affordable. And that is good news that I want to talk about. So according to this report from College Board, students are paying slightly less for tuition today than they were a decade ago. So right now, the average tuition at in-state public universities is a little over $11,000, which when adjusted for inflation is actually down 4%. And there's also been an increase in financial aid and grants. So the average student is just paying about $2,480 annually, which is a 40% drop from 10 years ago.
$2,480, like $2,480 a year? How come people are graduating with $80,000 of school loans?
Well, that's not really true anymore, too, because less than half of students in public universities right now are graduating with loans compared to 59%. Wow. So that's less people are graduating with loans, and even the loan itself is smaller.
Yeah, so. It's just our generation that got smacked with all the loans.
And I think
broke the system. Then they fixed it.
Economists could probably dig into reasons why, but I think one of the reasons why is like our generation felt the need to have a college degree to have a good career, where I feel like the generation now it's becoming evident that skills are often more valuable than just sort of an arbitrary degree. Especially like, hey, I can show you a portfolio of awesome work I've done, whether it's in the digital environment or if you're a tradesperson or something, where the supply and demand factor comes into play where, hey, college is less in demand because people feel like they don't need it. So maybe we drop the price. Maybe that's part of the reason too.
Supply and demand, baby.
I think it's also because less people are applying for financial aid as well. There's a little bit more of the pie to share with other people, so they can get more financial aid, therefore lowering loans. All of this. So, anyways, I won't bog you down with stats, but I think tuition getting more affordable. I think it addresses earlier. Maybe we can make a requirement course for college students, media literacy, or just literacy in general.
Yeah. Literacy in general. Yeah. Reading. Basic reading.
We'll start with literacy and then move on to media.
I'm a big reader. We talked about this last time, but I think we should be reading more everywhere.
Especially at relevantmagazine.com. Okay, That'll do it for Slices. Make sure to go practice your reading skills every day where we cover the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. All right, stay tuned. Up next, Dr. Sarah Hensley joins us.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by John Mark Comer's book, Garden City, a book that speaks to the tension we all feel between work, rest, and purpose. The New York Times bestselling author John Mark Comer takes us to the scriptures to identify what it really means to be human and flips the script on the idea that who you are matters, not what you do. He shows that God created us for meaningful work and meaningful rest. Both matter. This book helps you ask and answer the big questions. Does God care where I work? Is there a direction for my life? So you can discern God's heart for your calling, your rhythms, and the way His Spirit wants to shape every part of your life. If you're longing for purpose and a more grounded way to live, check out the new hardcover edition of Garden City wherever books are sold.
Well, today's show is brought to you in part by the new book, God, the Science, the Evidence. We talk a lot about faith, but how often do we talk about science in the same breath? You might be surprised to discover just how deeply the two actually agree. For centuries, science has been used to dismiss the idea of God, but today an intellectual revolution is underway. Modern discoveries in physics, cosmology, and biology are consistently revealing the same truth: creation isn't an accident. That profound reversal is what engineers Michel-Yves Bolloré and Olivier Bonassi investigate in their international bestseller, God, the Science, the Evidence. This book is a rigorous, evidence-based critique of materialism, inviting you to explore over a dozen scientific, philosophical, and historical domains. It shows that what was once seemed impossible, that science could point to a creator, is now supported by a vast and convergent body of evidence. With over 400,000 copies sold in Europe, this book is sparking a global debate. It's thoughtful, fascinating, and a powerful reminder that reason itself affirms the existence of God. Learn more and find out where you can purchase your copy today by visiting godthesciencetheevidence.com.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Erwin McManus's book, The Barbarian Way. Some books don't just inspire you, they confront you. The Barbarian Way, now celebrating its 20th anniversary, is one of those books. If you felt the pull of God towards something deeper and wilder than the safe, predictable version of faith that we settle for, McManus reminds us that following Jesus was never meant to be tame. It's meant to awaken courage, passion, and purpose God placed inside us. He draws from the wild stories of Abel, Noah, Moses, Rahab, and others to remind us that following God wasn't meant to be tame. Safe faith isn't working. Step into the story God is writing for you. Choose passion, choose boldness, choose the barbarian way. Available now, wherever books are sold.
Our guest today is Dr. Sarah Hensley. She's a Christian social psychologist and counselor who specializes in relationships, specifically the theory of attachment styles. If you don't know what attachment styles are, you're going to want to pay attention to this conversation because Dr. Hensley unpacks each of the styles, explaining why it's important to understand your attachment style and how they impact your relationships. Here's our conversation with Dr. Sarah Hensley.
Well, you were just telling me before this that attachment style theory has been around for decades, which is interesting to think about because there's still so many people who are just completely unaware of it. I think what could be really good is, can you briefly summarize each of the attachment styles and explain how they can impact our relationships?
Essentially, attachment is on a spectrum, which means that we can kind of slide around the spectrum a little bit depending upon what attachment style you are. And that's good news because that means that we can change it if we have the right types of interventions. So if you can imagine sort of a spectrum with two ends to it. On one end, we have attachment anxiety. And attachment anxiety, when it's activated, wants to make you activate. It really pushes through this sort of subconscious, emotional, primal push for us to connect with other people, especially our intimate partner. So if we are activated in our attachment anxiety, we want to pursue connection with an intimate partner. On the other end of the spectrum, we have attachment avoidance. And attachment avoidance, when we are in this space, causes people to what we call deactivate or want to move away from their intimate partner and more into isolation with themselves. And so this is when people are really pushing away their intimate partner and trying to create space between them and their intimate partner. So we have people, and then in the middle of the spectrum, I should say, we have attachment security. So these are people that were raised by really emotionally attuned parents that had a healthy marriage with their marriage partner. So the child was really able to witness healthy relationship dynamic growing up between their parents. And then parents gave their children a lot of great emotional attunement, but also just the right amount of instrumental support in their lives as well. And so these people that are in the secure space are really good at navigating romantic relationships. They have really good boundaries. They have really good non-critical communication skills, respectful conflict resolution skills. They don't really fear vulnerability, but they're not overly vulnerable and, too early on in a relationship. So they do a really good job of just navigating relationships in a healthy way. When we start to deviate from this secure space, we have people that deviate just to one side of the spectrum. So we have people that sort of deviate into what we call the anxious space, and they only stay in the space of anxiety and maybe moving more or less away from the secure space, either towards anxiety or towards security. And those folks that stay over on that end, they are called anxious preoccupied attachment. And really, this is created in childhood when the child received some emotional attunement from parents, but it wasn't enough or consistent enough. The child feel safe in that attachment relationship, like their needs would be consistently met, or they would get emotional attunement consistently when they felt stressed or upset. So it was sort of like parents could really do a good job sometimes, but then other times they were distracted away from it, or there was something going on where they couldn't give their child that emotional attunement. And so that inconsistent reinforcement always creates anxiety and it creates addiction. So anything that's inherently addicting, even love and people, is really created through this process of intermittent reinforcement, where sometimes our needs are met, the other times the need goes unmet. And it's that back and forth between having the need met and having it go unmet that sort of creates this anxiety of like, when is my need going to be met? And just this addiction to keep trying to change yourself to be whatever you feel like you need to be for that other person to give you that look and attention and attunement. So anxious preoccupied attachments have a number of really noticeable characteristics inside of their adult romantic relationships. I would say one is that they are overly concerned with the needs of their partner versus not being concerned enough with their own relationship. So they really focus on what does my partner want me or need me to be so that I can be successful in this relationship. They're really trying to navigate around their wounds of fearing abandonment, as well as feeling sort of not good enough in the relationship. Because in moments where their needs weren't met in childhood, they were going, what's wrong with me? What currently in order to get the attention of my parents or get this need met by my parents? And so that is essentially how they show up in their intimate relationships. They become so concerned with what their partner needs and sort of shifting their identity, their behavior, their values in order to try to fit the profile of what they feel like their partner needs in order to avoid abandonment. So this can really mean that they drop their boundaries inside of relationships and they settle for dynamics and relationships that aren't healthy in order to just avoid being abandoned. To them, they get a lot of validation from being in a relationship, from having this idea that somebody loves me and wants me and needs me. That really fills them up. And it's unfortunate because that's external validation, right? That really band-aids that wound of not feeling good enough or feeling like you might be abandoned. And so they can be a little too needy inside of relationships. They can demand too much attention, too much affection, and they can really get anxious and nervous over any perceived misattunements or any perceived space between them and their romantic partners. And that can cause them to sort of debate or really cling and seek connection and seek reassurance that their relationship is stable, which can kind of, especially to a secure person, very much to an avoidant person, be too much or too off-putting. So they can accidentally push people away just being too needy and too clingy inside of their relationships. And then that their lack of boundaries really doesn't serve them well. They can build up resentment in relationships because they're afraid to speak up, because they feel like if they speak up, then this person might abandon them. And they really, again, aren't focused enough on their own needs. So we can contrast that by going to the other complete opposite side of the spectrum, which is attachment avoidance. And we have people that only stay in the space between avoidant and secure. So they can kind of slide up and down this side of the spectrum, but they never hop over to the other side of anxiety. They just really stay between more of a secure space and an avoidant space. And we call those folks dismissive avoidants. And these folks really, most of them, not all of them, but most of them describe a very normal childhood. They usually received a lot of instrumental support from their parents. So their parents maybe took them to their sporting events, were in the crowd cheering for them during the football game or whatever. Mom packed the lunches. They ate dinner together as a family every night. So they felt very physically connected to their family. However, they were usually a family that just didn't do feelings. There was a lot of misattunement or no attunement at all when it came to the child's emotional expressions in childhood. So very early on, the child sort of learned that if I express emotion, if I get overly upset or I'm anxious or afraid, my parents are just going to tell me to stop crying and to get over it, that I'm fine. Right? So the parents aren't going to sort of take the emotions seriously and give them any credence or attention. And so when that happens enough in childhood, when you're sort of told, don't cry, don't worry about it, you're fine, that's okay, and nobody ever says, oh, wow, I can see that you're hurting. Oh, I can understand why you would feel afraid about that. And, here's how we work through that. They learn themselves that the only option for them is to suppress their own emotions. Because a little child doesn't have any emotional processing skills, they will go right to suppression and destruction. And that's really the easiest tool that they have. It's very unfortunate because that means that they become sort of experts at suppressing their emotions into adulthood. And that really, unfortunately, inhibits their ability to create real connection and real healthy intimacy inside of their adult relationships. So usually in the beginning of relationships, when the relationship is what we would call low stakes. So maybe the first 4 to 6 months of a relationship is sort of that low stakes period where if it doesn't work out, of course it wouldn't be great, but it's not the most devastating thing, right? It's not like a marriage ending, if you have a 4-month dating relationship ending. So in the low stakes period, relationship, they are able to be a little bit more vulnerable. Really, it's more transparency than true vulnerability, but it can feel to the other partner like they're connected, right? Like the person, the dismissive avoidant, is sharing personal information, is being vulnerable, is trying to be intimately connected. And then when the relationship moves into what we call a more high stakes space, which is generally after the 6-month mark, is when the dismissive avoidant just starts feeling this pressure that there needs to be more commitment, more expectations of them, more into the relationship, more intimacy, more vulnerability. That's really a transition period for the relationship, transitioning from a low stakes relationship into a high stakes relationship. And that is very, very triggering for the dismissive avoidant. And they will start their process of what's called deactivating, meaning their wounds around having to meet other people's expectations, having to be vulnerable, having to be more committed, and especially navigating normal conflict in a relationship start to feel very, very pressurizing to the dismissive avoidant. So they start to sort of build up this feeling that there's a lot of pressure on them to give to the other person in this relationship. And that's really their wounds around intimacy and vulnerability and feeling like that's not safe. And that really is more weakness and too much expectation for them start to kick in. So they start to deactivate or pull away. So usually this looks like them just making excuses to create space in the relationship. They become very busy. They start to deprioritize their partner in the relationship. They really pull back on the affection and the vulnerability inside of the relationship, which leaves their partner feeling very confused because their partner is like, hey, I had this one person that was very close and made all this effort. And then all of a sudden we've transitioned into this person feels really distant and feels like they're not giving me as much attention and affection and attunement as they once were, which is true. They're not doing it as much as they once were. They don't really notice when they back off as much as they should. They're a little bit unaware that their behavior has shifted to this degree. And then a lot of dismissive avoidants will essentially feel like they need to follow societal norms and settle down and get married. And so they can do that, but then usually a marriage situation really deactivates them more because again, it's more commitment. And more commitment really presses on their wounds around being committed and meeting other people's expectations and losing their independence, feeling trapped, feeling stuck. And so their deactivation can get so much worse in a marriage situation. And they can really almost get to the point, if we have a severe dismissive avoidant, where they're a ghost. The partners often describe the relationship as like, I'm in a situationship with my spouse. I'm not sure if my spouse really even loves me or cares about me because they just do the very bare minimum to sort of show up in their relationship. And so, of course, that causes them a lot of problems. They have a lot of wounds around feeling defective in relationships. And the thing that activates that the most is criticism. And so, of course, they're pulling back. They're not giving as much as they need to give in a relationship. So the other partner is likely to come in with some criticisms over them, right? And to express their wants and needs. And whenever the partner brings them more emotionality, and especially emotionality attached to criticism, they get really very, very, very triggered. And they go even deeper into their avoidance space, pulling away even more. And it can just be this really unhealthy cycle of them pulling away from their partners, just trying to get their needs met inside of the relationship. And then sort of doubling down on their avoidance and going even more distant, which is really an unproductive cycle and very dysfunctional in relationships. So that's the dismissive avoidant. And then we have this combination attachment style that just does not get the attention that it deserves inside of the, I would say, social media attachment space, where, social media folks, we don't really know. A lot of people are credentialed. A lot of people are not credentialed. A lot of people are scientists. A lot of people are sort of what we call armchair psychologists, or somebody that just, they don't have the degrees and they haven't really been studying the science, but they're hopping on the bandwagon to just explain attachment because it's trending. It's a big trending topic right now. And so the fearful avoidant, we have to understand them because they have avoidant behaviors and they can look a lot like either the dismissive avoidant or they can look a lot like the anxious preoccupied, but they have both sides to their attachment. They have this avoidant side where they can really shut down and really push their partner away. They also have an anxious side where they can become really activated and really want and seek out connection. And the reasons that they avoid in a relationship are totally different from the dismissive avoidant, even though the avoidance it looks the same, right? When somebody goes away and goes quiet, it can look just like the dismissive avoidant that's going away and going quiet in a relationship. So understanding that the reasons behind their avoidance or deactivation are greatly different than that of the dismissive. So fearful avoidance is usually caused in childhood by some degree of childhood trauma. And a lot of people don't recognize the traumas in their childhood because they think that trauma is only something like severe abuse, when it's not. Traumas can be what we call little t traumas or less impactful traumas. There could be something like my parents just fought a lot inside of their relationship. And so they fought back and forth, and I was exposed to a lot of that fighting, which can really make that child feel like intimacy is unsafe, right? Because I'm watching my parents and all of this discord and all of this unhappiness and all of this conflict. So what that imprints in me is that relationships and intimacy in particular is very unsafe and can be very fruitful inside of a relationship. It can also, of course, manifest from bigger T traumas, like if there was abuse inside of the home, if we had a parent with a mental illness that maybe really struggled with their emotional expression, either they were overly reactive or under attuned, I should say, in the relationship. And it could be that a parent has a substance abuse issue, right? We have an alcoholic parent or a drug addict parent. Maybe the loss of a parent due to death is a pretty significant attachment trauma. So there can be these big traumas, right, that the child is like, yeah, I had something big in my childhood. But a lot of fearful avoidants have smaller attachment traumas that were just consistent enough that it imprinted their subconscious with this idea that love is unsafe and you cannot trust people. And really, that's the main imprint. The biggest wound is fear of betrayal, which is really different than the fear of abandonment. So really need to differentiate that because a lot of people don't understand the difference and how full the difference really is. So fear of betrayal is this idea that I am going to be attached to you. I'm going to form a picture in my mind and in my heart of who you are. And then you're going to betray me and you're going to totally pull the rug out from underneath me and show me that this person I thought you were is not who you actually are. But yet I've already attached to you and I've already really maintained this intimate connection with you. And so that betrayal hits very hard and imprints me with this idea that, you know, if you couldn't even trust your own parents in childhood, you certainly won't be able to trust a romantic partner. And again, that's largely subconscious. People don't realize that they're carrying that around with them. And then how it presents inside of relationships can be pretty variable. I'd say the fearful avoidant has the most variability in their behavior. They can act avoidant, they can act anxious. So they're hard to spot compared to the anxious, preoccupied, and the dismissive avoidant because their behavior can kind of be all over the attachment spectrum. So they may get activated into their anxiety and really become clingy and really want the connection, only to perceive that they have been hurt or that there will be a betrayal. And they're very hypervigilant. So they really pick up on these small cues of their partner that they're about to be hurt or they have been hurt. And they put a great deal of meaning on those very small cues that come from their hypervigilance. And then they can deactivate really hard and really push their partner away really, really hard, really, really fast in order to avoid what they perceive as a betrayal or the full impact of feeling hurt by a betrayal. So really, what's difficult for them is that they're very hypervigilant and they're very tuned into perceived misattunements, perceived space in a relationship, and then they get really hurt over those things and that activates their betrayal wound and they can jump from really trying to fix the relationship to really pushing their relationship partner away, making it very confusing for the relationship partner to sort of figure out what does this person want. It seems like they're really, into me and they really want intimacy. And then before I know it, they're turning around and they're pushing me away and they're running away from the relationship. And one of the reasons they're not easy to spot is because they sort of can lean anxious or lean avoidant, and they tend to react opposite to their partner. So if they're in a relationship with more of an anxious, preoccupied person, they will go more avoidant as their primary strategy to sort of regulate their nervous system. If they are dating or in a relationship with a dismissive avoidant who's more avoidant than them, their activation will really kick in, their anxiety will really kick in, and they can become more clingy. So they're harder to spot. That makes sense. And their attachment sort of motives are harder to figure out. Do they really want me or do they not want me? Because they kind of bounce around. So that is the attachment spectrum. Those are the 4 attachment styles. And knowing your partner's attachment style can really be critical to having empathy for them and for understanding the motives behind their behavior. And then it allows us to attune to them better if we know the why behind their behavior.
That was Dr. Sarah Hensley. Make sure to follow her on all the socials. And if you want to learn more about attachment styles, like how it affects your relationship with God, check out more of our conversation at relevantmagazine.com. All right, stay tuned. After this break, it's your feedback. Well, today's podcast is brought to you in part by the new book, Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic. Author Jonathan Seidel knows firsthand how even believers can get stuck in shame and destructive habits, especially when it comes to one of society's biggest obsessions, alcohol. In Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic, he details his spiral into disordered drinking and shares the 4-step process he eventually used to break free. There's hope for alcoholics who become Christians and for Christians who become alcoholics. Find Confessions of a Christian Alcoholic wherever books are sold. What if you could change a child's life with just $10? Right now, thousands of vulnerable children in East Africa are suffering from jiggers. It's a painful, preventable parasite that burrows into their feet. Soul Hope is the only organization treating it through foot washing, medical care, and durable closed-toed shoes that protect kids long after treatment. $10 may not seem like much in today's world, but when we come together, those small gifts add up to big change. Join the 10 for 10 campaign. $10 protects 10 small toes. Visit soulhope.org/10 to give now. One small gift makes a big difference. Again, that's Soulhope, SOLE, hope.org/TEN. Okay, it's time for your feedback. Last week we were talking, it was a new year, we were talking about 2025. So we wanted to hear your predictions for 2025. You hit us up on X at Relevant Podcast. None of these were fact checked. So here we go.
We'll fact check them at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Big Jack 02 said some big tech company is going to make an app that will fill the void of TikTok. I guess they're presuming TikTok will no longer exist in its current form. But isn't TikTok just a replacement of like a Vine and Reels? Right. And yeah, I think Big Jack, I think you're right on with that. If in fact we no longer have TikTok, I do think something will fill the void.
I mean, we're recording this on Friday the 10th. You guys are hearing this on Tuesday the 14th, give or take. Today, it's in front of the Supreme Court, whether or not it's going to be upheld or not. So we'll know later this afternoon if TikTok's going to be around. But
I like Nina Smith. She said, I think we're going to see more people or influencers trying to make a career after one viral moment, aka more Haktua girls. And I do think that's kind of the culture we're in now is people get 15 minutes of fame and they're going to really try to stretch it because there's money there and it's easy to
good
be
on them.
Hey, look, she did her thing. Look, to have a drunken moment in downtown Nashville turn into making millions of dollars, good on her. Like, hey, I need to have a moment like that. I don't know, man.
You can go to downtown Nashville and do that.
Drunk and go to get a pedal tavern downtown and figure it out. Drunk off milkshakes, though.
She flew a little too close to the sun, defrauding people out of meme coin investments.
She's done now.
But look, if anyone out there goes viral for anything, even if it's like falling down the stairs and saying a funny quip that someone catches on a phone, go get yours while you can. Like, there's no one will disparage you for capitalizing.
I would have T-shirts with me falling down the steps. Matter of fact, I'm about to go slide in the ice right now. See if somebody can catch it on camera. I don't even lie.
You remember back in the early days of viral videos, David After Dentist?
Yeah.
I'm friends with that family. And to y'all's point, the dad, like, there was so much fan interest, they made T-shirts and stuff like that, and then put a college fund for the boys, and so like they literally made a ton of money from that video, and that was before like videos were monetized and stuff, so like, but like to your point, you get an opportunity, you get a moment entrepreneurially, go for it. Yeah,
go for it.
I've been thinking about this a lot because I saw this tweet maybe like a month ago, and someone pointed out that now all these influencers are trying to take the 15 minutes of fame and make a career out of it. Whereas like 10 years ago, you would have had a fun little guest spot on Ellen and that's it.
Tosh.0 and Ellen would have you on. And then that was it. Yeah.
And you're done.
And it's like, maybe we need to bring back Ellen in 2025 to like, instead of being overrun by influencers. That's a take. Yeah. I got to whisper that one, but bring someone back and then let the influencers go there instead.
As someone who doesn't watch the NFL, Tom Bennett, 123, Jesse, I don't know. You tell me. He says, I predict God finally answers my prayers and the Dallas Cowboys will win the Super Bowl.
Listen, I believe in miracles, but let's be reasonable.
Let's be cool. Let's chill out. I was gonna bring that one up myself. I was like, that's the one that I'm like, look, man, God can do anything, but it'll look like whatever Jerry Jones got going on over there. It'll look like God like it. So,
have y'all seen that Jerry Jones clip going around this week? He was on some show, I think Landman, something like that. Yeah. People are saying like he should get like an Emmy nomination for it. Apparently,
he really was acting hard in it. That's the thing. Jerry Jones loves Jerry Jones. If he's getting camera time, he's giving it. He's going to throw 100 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if it's a cameo in a Taylor Sheridan show.
He's an interesting dude. Jerry Jones is a very interesting person.
Didn't he like buy the Cowboys for like $4 million in the 90s or so?
I think they are the most valuable sports team, like pro sports.
Now, but I'm saying, like, good on him. I mean,
Brandy genius, man. Like, because he convinced that the team that's lost more than anybody in the world is America's team.
Hey, that's God's team.
That's called America Losers. That's what he called us.
That's what I'm saying. Look, listen, you talk about betting on yourself over and over again. That's what he has done, for his whole life. And
you guys don't understand. I grew up in Dallas. Like, I heard the phrase Dallas Cowboys are God's team so much that like I did kind of believe. I was like, oh, I guess they are God's team.
Do you know why they said
because
that?
Because of the stadium. Yeah.
The stadium, to cut a hole in the stadium so God could watch the games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, he don't like the games. Clearly, he ain't rocking.
He's like, y'all go ahead and put that dome up.
He's taking a nap on Sunday.
Yeah, let's cover that up.
Let's cover that up. All right. Well, there's more where that came from. You want to check out the replies.
He's going to pop over to Kansas City this week.
Yeah, for real. Okay, it's time for this week's
editorial question of the week. Hey.
Well, we just had Dr. Hensley educate us, school us on an aspect of relationships that we all need to probably study a little more deeply. It got us thinking about relationship advice. We want to know, Valentine's Day is a month away. We want to know what is the best relationship advice and worst relationship advice you've maybe given or heard. Hit us up. I'm particularly interested in this one.
Do you guys feel like you give good relationship advice? Like, I don't know how much relationship advice you've given, but
I don't frequently, I'm not frequently asked about it. But
we have now asked you.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to give legitimate relationship advice, it would always be listen more, talk less. And I think that could go friendships or romantically. You can never go wrong. Or even in like a professional circumstance, it's always better to
2 ears, one mouth.
Slow to speak, quick to, you know what I mean? Like that is true eternal advice is listen more, talk less in relationships.
And we don't ever do that.
And that's the tea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, we're professional podcasters, so it's our job to talk, and people they take their time to listen to us. So I don't apply this in my life.
You should have that on a business card. Like, I'm a podcaster. I don't have to listen to you.
Look, what I'm saying is this is my advice for people who aren't as good as talking as me, who aren't as saying as interesting things all the time at full volume without ceasing to take a breath. They can listen more. But for me, obviously, I'm going to talk as much as I can in every scenario.
My favorite thing is whenever we're around Jesse or Jesse's around, friends that are like fans of the podcast or like, have gotten to know him and he's making everybody laugh, whatever. And they meet Dana and they're like, oh, Dana, is it just such a blast being married to Jesse? Are you just laughing all the time? And she goes, when you've heard these stories 1,000 times already.
And you were there for the humiliating outcome. No.
That's my favorite thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Shout out to the wives.
For real. Okay, hit us up on X at Relevant Podcast. We'll read your best and worst relationship advice on next week's show. Well, before we wrap it, I want to thank Dr. Sarah Hensley for joining us today. Make sure to follow her on social media. Great content. And also make sure to check out more of that conversation over at relevantmagazine.com. Good stuff that you didn't hear. Also, I've been mentioning it for a couple weeks now, but issue 116 of Relevant is out now. We'll tell you a lot more about it on the next episode, but you can go check it out for yourself. It's live at relevantmagazine.com. Just click the magazine tab. You can read it for free. If you want the beautiful print level but interactive digital magazine experience, you can get it with Relevant Plus. Plans are as low as $250 a month. And you get the digital magazine, this podcast ad-free unlimited reading, and magazine archives at relevantmagazine.com and more. Go check it out. All right. On that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Emily Brown.
We will see you on Friday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
We drag that canoe to the top of the hill.
Relevant Podcast Network.